Your mission, if you choose to accept, is to listen to this podcast on Mission Impossible. Coming up next. Haven't Seen It with Tim Sestito and Tommy Tevening. Hello, everybody. Welcome on in. Thank you all so much for listening today. This is a podcast where one of us is watching a movie for the very first time, and today that is myself, having never seen the original Mission Impossible. I feel like such an amateur to the franchise that I bungled the intro a little bit, Tommy. Where did I bungle that intro?
Yeah, you got it wrong. This is why, you only saw the movie for the first time, like what, 2 weeks ago?
No,
So,
it's the first time watching it. It went on a little bit of a kick in the franchise. Very
have you ever
excited.
really watched the franchise before?
I the first time I saw any Mission Impossible movie was Mission Impossible 6 in the theaters with Will, the one with Henry
Yeah.
Cavill.
Yeah, and that's
That was,
that's his favorite franchise. That's our buddy Will's like comfort movies. Whenever he comes to my apartment, he has to put on a Mission Impossible. It's just
I,
like
I get it. I get it. I get it.
it's amazing.
I
Yeah.
understand now. But we watched um but where I messed up on the beginning is that I did not say this podcast will self-destruct in 5 seconds. That's where I messed up. That's
Yeah.
where I messed up, Tommy. That was my fault. That was my bungling of the intro of this episode. I hope the listeners can forgive me.
Yeah, hopefully. Maybe Will's gonna send in some angry letter.
Yeah, will letter. When's the last time you've sent a letter?
Um, Good question.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's what I thought, Tommy. But very excited. We have the Final Reckoning coming out. Uh, It's certainly being marketed as the last Mission Impossible movie, but if this one somehow makes up its $400 million budget at the box office, I have a very hard time seeing how they don't just keep making more of these.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, this is basically like there's so many cases in Hollywood of them being like, "Oh, this is the last movie," then all of a sudden there's like five more sequels after it or something like that.
So
So
so the last one came out in 2023 and it was called Dead Reckoning Part 1.
yeah.
And then I can't remember what it was, but they sandwiched it in between like Barbie and Oppenheimer, and there was
Mhm.
some other movie that came out right before it that I'm like blanking on, but it was like a very big release in the early July window, and they just kind of like shot themselves in the foot when they released it, and it did okay, but it was like a flop for what you would want from like a Tom Cruise led Mission Impossible a year coming off Top Gun Maverick.
Well, yeah. I mean, also like the budget of that movie inflated so much because of COVID and like COVID delays and all that shit.
Yeah, and
But overall, it was just like you shouldn't have committed to that date. I mean, like Barbie and Oppenheimer were like the talk of the summer, and then like Mission Impossible, people love those movies, but it
the
got swallowed up in the
And
whole.
Mission Impossible certainly has it's a set piece movie, a movies, set of movies. That's like what it is. Like the plot of them are all just like mix and match different parts of this first one, I feel like. And then from there on outward, it's just become like much bigger set pieces and stunts and Tom Cruise just
Mhm.
at some point deciding like I don't care if I die. I'm going to get the shot.
I mean, people have been saying he's like a modern day Buster Keaton, where he's just willing to do like so many stunts, and like that. So many people have also like made the case that like Tom Cruise is our greatest stuntman now because he's certified in all these different places, and he's willing to do so much just to get in the line of the movies. Where he's like, yeah, like I'll fly out of a plane, like literally, like I'll be like hanging on for dear life in a plane for this movie.
Yeah, I
Fuck it.
mean he listen, if you go back to our Top Gun episode, which is one of our better early episodes, we talk about Tom Cruise and Scientology and that like he's a crazy person.
Yeah.
We love him. I've never seen a star do a giant 360 from their public image, like when he married Katie Holmes, was
It
jumping
was
up
like
and down.
when we were in middle school, it's like mid
It was
2000s,
it was
around World of
literally like this
Worlds.
guy is a
Bottom, his
psycho.
stock. his stock was so low and everything like that.
Oh,
Like Spielberg was pissed off at him for the whole Oprah thing, and people were like, "Oh, he's this crazy Scientologist. He's a tabloid rumor." And now we don't hear any of that. I feel like I haven't heard Tom Cruise and Scientology like mentioned together in so long in
I,
terms of like recent
he
headlines.
has very wisely distanced himself in terms of the public eye. I've heard that like there was one rumor of him like entering a Scientology center in like London, like through like a back entrance. But you know, you believe what you want to believe, right?
Yeah,
But yeah, the guy's just he's just because he's also had that rocky history of like his dating history too, like his marriage with Nicole Kidman, his marriage with Katie Holmes, like the guy like when he was really front and center, like People magazine cover kind of celebrity,
yeah.
it really went off the rails for him. And he just kind of wisely just said like the latter half of my career, I'm just going to make action movies, straight up.
Hmm.
That's it. Which is a wild statement when you think about it, because most action stars like have a expiration date, and
Hmm.
then they have to like try to piece together the rest of their career.
Well, like
Tom Cruise,
think of the other guys like of his age range from his decade. Like Schwarzenegger's now doing TV, Stallone's now doing TV, and like they're all their movies are like shitty B movies at best.
they're like different, like it's like different kind of action though.
Well,
Like
even guys like Emilio Estevez, who was in this movie, like he was an action star in the '90s for a bit, and nowadays, like he's not anything.
no, but if you look at his body of work, like, the last Tom Cruise movie we covered on this podcast was Eyes Wide Shut, which is this like haunting drama. But, turn of the century, you have Valkyrie, 2008 Valkyrie, then 2010 Night and Day, that action comedy with Cameron Diaz, Mission Impossible, Ghost Protocol, Rock of Ages, Jack Reacher, Oblivion, Edge of Tomorrow, Mission Impossible, Rogue Nation, another Jack Reacher, The Mummy, which what a flop that one was, American Made, another Mission Impossible, some short movie with Chris Hemsworth and COVID, which I'm just not going to count that, and then Top Gun Maverick and these two Mission Impossibles. Like rarely will you see a guy's like 50s and 60s just be defined by being an action star. And I think it has to do with his personal affliction for wanting to do stunts and being involved in like that kind of world, like with cars and all these other things, like, and then just bringing it to the screen and like having the power to overwrite producers and insurance companies and being like, no, I'm gonna do it, and you're just gonna insure it because I'm Tom Cruise.
Yeah, exactly. Like you're gonna get this green light.
Yeah, he's gonna get a green light, but like when you look at his career, 2000 onward, really, he went from, being a dramatic actor with Eyes Wide Shut, Magnolia, Jerry Maguire, A Few Good Men, Born on the Fourth of July, Cocktail, Color of Money, right? Like he had all these Risky Business, like he had all of these more like dramatic roles and like roles that showcased his range as an actor to just being like Tom Cruise, the Running Man.
It really started with Mission Impossible. I feel like, before we had Tom Cruise in the action mode of like kind of more like sports action movies of like Days of Thunder, which we covered recently, and Top Gun. Yeah, that was the most recent Tom Cruise movie. That was like 2 months ago.
Yeah,
Already forgot.
I didn't forget. I just the Eyes Wide Shut episode is gonna live with me my entire
Yeah.
in
Because
a
you're
way
like,
that Days of
you're
Thunder
never gonna
was.
forget that movie.
Here's the thing: Days of Thunder was not built to compete with Eyes Wide Shut. You know what I mean? In terms of its like
Not at all.
memorability, like two different movies. Like Days of Thunder is like a comfort movie if you like NASCAR.
Yeah. It's just like a movie
I,
you watch because like, oh, cool
I
races. Whereas Eyes Wide Shut is like
it
stays in your head.
it'll
I don't.
it'll it'll keep you awake at night.
Yeah.
And it's they're two different movies, but yes, we did cover Days of Thunder. I
But yeah, regardless, like Tom Cruise's action movies, those were his action movies, like Top Gun, Days of Thunder. Those are like more sports action movies and different type of things. Mission Impossible brought him into this action movie hero mode, where by the end of the decade, he was still doing his dramatic work, like you were saying. And then we get into Mission Impossible 2 and then Minority Report and all these other movies where he just became more and more of just the action guy that we know him more as today.
Yeah, and it's a very interesting change because I feel like action guys are always young and then they age out of it unless they're in like a Marvel-esque franchise or something like that.
Yeah.
And it's just been the opposite for Mr. Cruz here, but um, very excited for the final reckoning coming out here.
Mhm.
And we're going to touch deeply on this Mission Impossible, the original, the OG, directed by Brian De Palma. But first, Tommy, what have you watched recently? What movies have crossed your eyeballs and graced
Ye-
your presence?
Yeah, so on Thursday, I had to cancel on a concert because I didn't feel a trip to New York City. And instead, Yale ended up doing a screening of Midnight Run in
Ooh,
35 millimeter print. So first of all, I've only saw this movie for the first time maybe 2 or 3 years ago. But
never seen it.
Martin Brest, the guy who directed it, he directed Beverly Hills Cop 2, which we covered last year. And I think um, this movie is just like amazing. Midnight Run. It's just like his pinnacle of action comedy. It's like the platonic ideal of the action comedy right here, where like there's just so many good character actors in it between like Joey Pants, Dennis Farina, and even the fact that you have like De Niro just doing great De Niro and doing comedy. It was the first time we ever really had De Niro doing comedy in a way. And seeing this movie with a crowd was so much fun. I mean, something I said on our Twitter page is that like anytime you see a comedy movie, it's always going to be a lot more funny like when you're with a huge crowd that's like into it and locked in because like for example like Superbad, most hilarious movie I've ever seen in my life, and when I saw it in theaters dying laughing. When I see it by myself or I see it with a couple of friends, it's still funny, but it's not nearly as funny as it was in that experience with a huge crowd that was dying laughing, the communal experience.
Well,
So
my experience was super bad to go off of it because I did not have an older brother to sneak me into movies.
yeah,
And I did not get parental acceptance to go see an R-rated comedy
yeah.
when I was 14 years old. So I had to find like sketchy sites on the internet, and me and Ryan Davey like watched it on my family computer, like in parts, like just like whatever parts we could cobble together just to see Superbad.
Do you know what's so funny about like the whole thing of like the difference between like how our like parents grew up? My grandma for Christmas that year, 2007, got me Superbad on DVD. She she probably didn't even know what it was. She was like, "Oh, like Tommy wanted this on his like Christmas list. Sure, I'm giving this movie, whatever."
Unrated version. What does this mean?
Yeah, exactly. Like a little seventh grade Tommy be
Because
like,
that
"I
was
I
that was
want Superbad on DVD."
that was the era also of like any comedy that came out. It was like the unrated version was the DVD release. It was always the unrated version, which just meant like it was 3 minutes longer.
Yeah, exactly. So Midnight Run though, really fantastic seeing it. I mean, Charles Grodin is just like a tour of force right there, just anxiety and pressure. Have you ever seen it?
I no, I haven't. I
That is one we'll have to add to the list because Yaphet Kotto's in it. And another movie I want to touch upon real quick, speaking of super bad, I also got to see another Judd Apatow movie in theaters recently, Funny People,
isn't that the
which
Cancer movie?
that's the cancer movie with Adam Sandler and Seth Rogen. I haven't seen it in maybe like a few years. I remember it's one of those weird things. Like I remember seeing it in theaters when it first came out, original run. Then when I was in New York City weekend before, they were doing a screening of it at the Metrograph. I was like, all right, I want to check out the Metrograph. Great movie theater if you're in New York City. You go check it out. But the thing about Funny People was I expected the comedy to hold up, and for largely it did. It's still a hilarious movie, but I didn't expect the drama to really hit me in the way it did. The story of like essentially the Great Gatsby in a way, in this framed in a way of like like stand-up comedian stuff like that worked for me a lot. There's some still parts of the third act that like Judd Apatow you could have stretched the cut down a little bit,
That's a
but
that's a
over
that's a constant complaint of mine with Judd Apatow.
yeah.
I feel like the only time I ever watched a Judd Apatow movie where I was like, "Oh, you ended it at the right point," was The King of Staten Island, the Pete Davidson movie.
Mhm.
Like, I'm trying to remember because I watched it like it came out during COVID, and I remember watching it when it came out, and it was about him like trying to find his career, his path in life, or whatever. And then he's going in for like an interview, and it like cuts with him on the Staten Island ferry at the end of that movie. And I was so worried that that movie was going to kick on for another 15, 20 minutes because he just Like I think of the 40-Year-Old Virgin, like the first two-thirds of that movie, perfect, so funny, and then it just like changes into this like weird drama that's like got like one funny part where they're at the gyno's office or the sex
Yeah, yeah.
counselor's
This
office, but the
yeah.
rest of it is just like soapy melodrama, and I'm like, what? I'm like, what is like no, and I feel like this is 40, similar
Yeah,
stuff.
definitely. He has the issue over and over again where like he doesn't know when to edit, and I think that Funny People, in some ways, the first half of that movie, I think is the best stuff that Judd Apatow has ever done in terms of directing. It's like a really good dramedy right there. I feel like the drama really hits when it does, and the comedy really hits. But then there's the third act, which introduces Eric Bana late into the game, where it's just like, all right, like, do we really need to introduce another character more
Oh,
into this movie?
it drives me nuts when they start introducing characters in the third act. I'm like, what are we doing here?
Yeah, yeah, come on. It's just like, all right, at this point you could have just cut this out. But
Like if you
regardless,
those guys need to be bit guys. You know what I mean? Just like little guys on the side, like a
mm,
one-liner guy. We don't even need to know his. If you want to know his name, it's in the credits. Like, like we don't need any more than that.
yeah, yeah. So, but regardless, it was still fun and awesome, like seeing funny people again. So I think that it's really underrated. And I feel like it's also a turning point for Judd Apatow. I was thinking about this for a bit, where that movie bombed at the box office because for some reason it had a 70 million budget, and which is insane for that movie because mostly people talking and doing stand up. I
Because
guess
they
I'm
paid. It's because they paid it. It's because all these actors were paid their quotes. They're like, oh, we're getting a comedy funded. Who is it? Universal, probably.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, it's like Universal's fronting they went the Sandler route, right? Like the funny the what was that movie? What's that terrible movie with them on the water slide?
Oh,
Grown
grown ups or ever. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, just that like run of like mid that Sandler run from like the mid to late 2000s to like the mid 2010s of just like god awful Sandler schlock where it was just like this movie's going to cost 70 million and 40 million of it is going to go to the cast. Like I'm going to pay my friends all this money. Like that's where the budget went
Yeah.
to these
I-
movies.
yeah, but the fact that the budget was so high, and the fact that it did not make up the budget whatsoever, it kind of felt like a turning point to the point that, like, for Judd Apatow, it's like I had a movie of Seth Rogen and Adam Sandler that did not become a box office sensation. And at that point, that's the last time he's had Seth Rogen in a movie of his, which is insane to think about because like they're so synonymous for years and years. At this point, like, like, we always talk about how the comedy, studio comedy has died for the last like 10 years. And really, I think the start of that could be a Funny People dying. Once that
I
movie died at the
see
box office.
I blame The Hangover.
Well, that did well.
No, it's not because of its success, it's because of its structure. It's a comedy with like a mystery on it. And when you think of like any comedy before it, like the plot is like secondhand, where the plot is like the dominating force of The Hangover. It is what drives it. It is the vehicle for the comedy. And I feel like a lot of those 2010s comedies that really flustered out like tried to capture that model because it did so well. Instead of just like letting funny people write funny characters and just having like a loose story. Like the 40-Year-Old Virgin's like the perfect concept for a comedy. It's like this guy's a 40-Year-Old virgin. These dudes that are his coworkers are like, we're gonna try to help with that. And let's see what funny hijinks happen. You know,
Mm.
like that's the hangover is like our buddy Doug went missing. What happened to him? Where could he be? He's getting married in 3 days. Also, crazy move to have your bachelor party 2 days before your wedding. Just a crazy person move.
Yeah, 100%.
I understand it's just for convenience and adds tension, but crazy person move. Yeah, we're having a wedding in 2 days, but we're gonna fly to Las Vegas first. Big money
Like,
idea.
yes,
Brilliant.
like, it's like what the fuck?
Like brilliant move. Yeah, so I was on a Mission Impossible kick and I saved Mission Impossible 1 for this because I knew we were going to record this. But I have seen Mission Impossible 2. And we will discuss Mission Impossible 1, full length here, but Mission Impossible 2, it's like 'cause you have Brian De Palma, you have like one of the greats of the 20th century doing this like action studio movie, which just feels kind of out of character, especially when you look at his filmography, like
Mm.
completely out of the realm of what he would do. And then you have who is it, Justin Wong
No,
doing
John Woo, John Woo.
John Woo. John
Yeah.
Woo doing Mission Impossible 2, and man, they are just so different. It's like a weirdly sexist movie. For starters, they just objectify the woman in that movie so much. It's crazy. Um, like that was like one observation that like jumped off the deck. Two, the
Mm.
editing in it was so bad. Like during the action, like the editing in the action sequences is so bad. It's so bad.
Just
So many cuts where it's cutting and you can just tell that it's like not in sync with what is happening in the action, and you'll just see like there's a dirt bike chase and you'll see like it'll change to like a wide angle and you'll just see like the bikes are not where they were in that frame before, and then it'll cut again, and it kept doing this. It was driving me nuts. Um, but
mm.
it is interesting because I feel like a lot of these Mission Impossibles follow a similar thing of like Ethan gets himself into a situation where he's getting blacklisted by the IMF. And that's just not the case in this one. Also, Anthony Hopkins is in it for just like two scenes.
It's incredible.
It's just incredible. Like he's just in it for two scenes. It's just kind of crazy. Definitely it's like a fun bad movie, you know? It's fun. Like I can't sit here and say I didn't have a fun time watching it. It is just kind of a bad movie though. Like
Yeah, I mean, I think that like the John Woo of it all too. I mean, I still haven't seen two. The only Mission Impossibles I haven't seen were two, three, and four, which I'm gonna watch very soon. But I feel like when you have John Woo, the guy who made Face Off, and he's definitely known for like all this Hong Kong action cinema stuff. When you bring that into like an American movie, especially with a movie star like Tom Cruise,
it,
it's gonna be cheesy as
it
hell.
felt well, it felt like because that came out in 2000. You could feel the Matrix influence in there. Like Tom Cruise is wearing like all black in the leather, and you can just feel it in like the way that they're like the way the camera moves with like the panning shots, like the like
Hmm.
swirling around like during the actions, like. But then the action was just not shot as well as it was in the Matrix. But you could
Yeah.
definitely feel the Matrix in this move, like trying to take some of that influence and putting it into this movie,
Hmm.
which I just thought was kind of interesting. But Mission Impossible 2, if you like Mission Impossible movies, it's a Mission Impossible movie. Like you'll have a good time.
Well, like from everyone's been doing their rankings recently because of the new one coming out, and two is always at the bottom from what I've seen.
Yeah, from what I've seen of the franchise, because I still have to watch 3
Mm,
and 5, and then I've seen everything.
mm,
Um, I would safely put it at the bottom
yeah.
of the Mission Impossibles that I've seen. I would safely put it down at the bottom, but Mission Impossible 2, it's a movie. You can watch it because it's a movie. Why not? But now we're going to cover the big boy, Mission Impossible.
This is your mission should you choose to accept it.
Simple game. Is he serious?
Always.
It's much worse than you think.
I can understand you're very upset.
You've never seen me very upset.
This tape will self-destruct in 5 seconds.
Rated PG-13.
So Mission Impossible, the action spy film from 1996, directed by Brian De Palma, starring Tom Cruise, also featuring John Reno, Ving Rhames, Christian Scott Thomas, John Voight. Um, Kind of a really stacked cast when you think about it, right? You have Ving Rhames coming off of Pulp Fiction in 1994, and John Reno with Leon the Professional in 1995. Like you have
Mm.
two of these guys kind of playing bit more bit parts in these. Um, kind of
Yeah,
come
and even
like
the fact that we had Emilio Estevez in the beginning of the movie, where like he was still really popular back then.
yeah, it was nice seeing Emilio pop up. Like we haven't covered Emilio since the Mighty Ducks, man. Like it was just nice to see his face. You know, it's just nice to know he was still alive and kicking in 1996.
Yeah.
Um, but like I'd seen Ving Rhames in all the Mission Impossibles I had seen up to this point, but I did not realize he was there from the jump. You know what I mean? Like he's like the only guy from the originals that outside of Tom Cruise that has just stuck with the franchise.
I like the through line too, and also that like when you get deeper and deeper into the Mission Impossible movies, that Ving Rhames it starts just like sitting down, like he doesn't even move at all. He's just in a chair the majority of the movie.
Oh yeah, yeah. He's like, oh, it's like Billy D. Williams in The Rise of Skywalker. Like poor Billy D. Like he's like 80. They're like shoveling him out onto the set, and he can't even walk. He has to like walk with a cane. So he rescues whatever those characters' names are, and he's just like in this little ship, and he like stands up and then he instantly sits down on a stool. It's like that's how I feel about Ving Rhames in like the later Mission Impossible movies, where he's just like, I'm just gonna be in a chair, man. Like, listen. Ethan, man, I'll take my $2 million paycheck. I will. It'll be cool. I'll show up to set. But don't expect me to do no running, man. You can do the running.
Yeah, exactly. Like I'm not a runner. So it is crazy to think like this is a period in the 90s where I feel like people in Hollywood just love to make movies out of like old TV shows from 20, 30 years ago. Like at the time, they were trying to make this movie for a while, like I think like 9 years or something like that. And it wasn't really until The Fugitive took off, the Harrison Ford movie, which we need to cover because I've never seen. But
Oh,
that movie is also based on a TV show. So once that had some success, they're like, okay, now we can do Mission Impossible. And also, this is the era where we had like the Brady Bunch movie, we had the Flintstones movie, and it was just
movie,
like,
yeah.
yeah, all
Flintstone Rock Vegas or whatever it is, that sequel that is just horrendous.
yeah, just awful. So like, this is a TV show that like had Peter Graves, had Martin Landau, Leonard Nimoy popped up, Sam Elliott was a main character for a season. I'm trying to like wonder though, like how popular was the TV show in comparison? Because I feel like the cultural footprint at this point is only the movies, at least for our generation.
I feel like it's a symptom of like 50s, 60s TV. It's such a drastically different vehicle. Like
Hmm.
back then, TV was made for advertisers. Like it was kind of like junky things. Like we think of TV now, like we grew up in the age of The Sopranos. We grew up, excuse me, in the age of prestige television. We didn't have that before. It was just like junky action shows and like a lot of TV from the 50s, 60s, 70s does not hold up. It doesn't because it's just a formula. It was just a vehicle for you to buy products. That's what a television
And
is.
there certainly was TV though, like from that era that like lingered on our pop culture. Like
Oh, All in the all
Star
in the
Trek comes to
family.
mind. Brady Bunch comes to mind. At that
All in
point,
the All in the Family is probably like the in terms of like the sitcom, like those Norman Lear shows, like in
hmm,
terms of like really establishing like the family formula that we've still see today. Um,
hmm.
really setting that tone, but most of it is like Star Trek's weird, but like have you ever tried to watch Star Trek? Like I've tried to watch the original Star Trek. It's tough watch, man. If you're
Oh, I disagree. I mean, I remember like G4 back in the day when we were in like high school, used to do repeats of Star Trek, the original series. I thought it was fun. I mean, it was definitely cheesy for its thing, but it still like held up for me.
I wonder if an issue of it is that I'm watching it on like it's like upscaled to like for like a 65-inch Samsung television that it was not made for. You know what I mean? Like the real like low budget of it like really pops out when you can now see like what these sets look like. Because like these old TV sets were not made for us to like be able to see what's going on in the background.
Well, it's also a thing of like even TV from like 30 years ago. Then I've been rewatching Buffy the Vampire Slayer, and on Hulu, it's not HD, it's just standard definition. And even that, like, just like, oh my God, TV used to look a little rough back then.
Yeah.
So there's that in it. But what's so funny is that the cast list of the TV show hated this movie because the Jim Phelps character played by John Voight was one of the main characters of the TV show, and to the point that he was like one of the heroes and stuff like that. So like they were all like, "What the fuck? Like, how is he like the villain of this? That's like such a disgrace to the TV show. Like, are you kidding me? Like, what's going on there? Why would you do that?" And Martin Landau, the guy who covered in Ed Wood, who played
Yeah.
Bela Lugosi famously, he was a big part of the TV show too. And he said in an interview that like when they were working on the first draft of the script, they were planning to bring back all of us from the TV show into the movie, and they were going to be in like the Emilio Estevez like crew roles, where they're just going to kill off the whole TV show cast immediately one by one. And they're like, "No, we're not going to do that. Are you kidding me? Why would we just get set up for us to be like uh killed off immediately?" So the TV show apparently was more of like a mind game type of thing. Where it's like we got in, we got out, no one knew we were there.
And I
Whereas
mean,
this
it
was more
definitely had
action.
like I think it's interesting too because you can see some of like the Bond influences in this one, which I imagine were also in the TV show as well. Like with the stick of gum that explodes, like that's just straight out of a Bond.
Yeah,
Or
and this is
which I feel
also
which I feel like doesn't really carry over into the rest of the franchise, like going forward. It's not like some weird, tricky tech gadgets that do weird things that are hidden in places that they're not supposed to, you know?
in some ways this was kind of like the American Bond, where like Bond as a concept was even by like the mid '90s was kind of becoming a little outdated in a way to the point that like
Well, well,
remember in
Bond, well,
Gold.
GoldenEye had just come out the year before this, but Bond up until GoldenEye was very stale. Like the
Well,
Timothy,
yeah. To the point that I remember, like, wasn't there a line that Judi Dench says in GoldenEye that, like, "Oh, you're a dinosaur" or
yeah,
Bond or something like that? Yeah, yeah. So, like, at this point, we needed kind of a new, like, a spy action franchise at this point. And here comes Tom Cruise. Tom Cruise produced this one. He was one of the first movies he produced with his production company, if not the very first. And he brought Brian De Palma to direct it. He told Paramount, like, I think that this would be a great idea for a movie. We could do this. And like I said, once Fugitive came in, ball rolling. So my first impression of this movie, I've saw this once in high school and haven't really watched it since. Um, I just love the opening 30 minutes, like the cold open
yes.
of just the table setting of like, here's your initial team, here you go, like Emilio Estevez, all the other people.
We get to see them a little bit as a team, like just cracking jokes at that table while they're breaking down the mission there, talking about like the bad coffee and oh, what hotel did you get to stay at when you were doing your recruiting mission? Ba 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 da 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 da, right? Like kind of like all these like things, like where it's like,
You know who suggested that scene?
who?
George Lucas. George Lucas said that this needs a spaghetti scene. It's like a scene where they all discuss what's happening next. So that was all during reshoots when George Lucas was showing us cut the scenes. But it was a good little
Really?
character moment. So we got a little
Good
good.
character moment from George Lucas. That's not something I had on my bingo card, dude. I'm not
Yeah, yeah. I mean, this is from IMDb, so take it with a grain of salt, but still. But like honestly, it's the way that like they build it up. I mean, there's something in '96 in the water where like we killed off major stars in the beginning of the movie between this and Scream. But it's also just we have so many like good actors in that moment. And like you feel it's like the team, it feels more like the TV show where it's just like this fun action spy romp. Oh my God, we're coming in, we're coming out, we're getting in,
And then
all
it
this stuff.
flips on its head immediately when when John Voight's character, Jim Phelps, is running down the bridge and saying, "Abort, abort, they're on to us, they're on to us."
Yeah.
And then we cut to Tom Cruise. Also, can I just say, it's on my point, but it's to derail it. I love the 90s tech, like,
Mhm.
of like, what, like when you think about it, like at this point, like people like maybe had access to the internet, like at work, like the home computer was just starting to be a thing. So, like, they had full liberty to do whatever the hell they wanted to with the tech
Well,
and
did he just
how
say
it can look.
like access online? Did he
Oh,
type
that
that
was the
in or
best.
something
Like
like that?
him, like Luther's character is like, oh, he's a master hacker, man. Like he can do anything. And then it's just like him on a keyboard being like, access denied. It's like, wow, look at him go. Like it's just such like thing. But you see Tom Cruise with like the little screen on his watch.
And
Like,
he uses Netscape at one point where there's the montage of him online.
oh yeah, sending the email looking for Max, doing the book of
Yeah,
Job, Job, but Job 314. Uh,
yeah.
but
But
then
there is a point though in this movie. Apparently, Apple, first of all, gave like massive product placement to make their like products more cool because they were kind of in a tough spot
yeah,
back in
this is
'96.
before people don't realize this, but Apple in the 90s was in the tank. You should have bought the stock then, kids.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. But The movie, like the opening 30 minutes, is just so great because you're just invested in these characters. And once they all start dying off, it's genuinely upsetting. The Emilio Estevez's death is like so they have a horror movie.
Kind
The fucking
of
eyes
brutal. Like we see it, like it cuts quickly, but he's like on the elevator shaft shooting up, and then all of
looking
a
up.
it like hits him right in the eye, and then it cuts to Tom Cruise, and he's like, he's calling out his name, he's calling out his Jack Harmon's name. He's like Jack, 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 and then you just hear John Voight go, "He's gone, Ethan. It's a
Man
man
down.
down." And it's
Yeah,
just
it's like
like it's a powerful moment, and then even like his partner that he was, kind of flirting with to like have cover or whatever outside. When she gets stabbed and he like walks over and sees the knife into him and to the other guy, Golitsyn, the agent getting stabbed, it's like, oh, brutal. Like
yeah.
it's brutal. And then when he makes the call for the evac and they have that great sequence at that restaurant, like that aquarium water restaurant, which is
Mhm.
such a great scene.
Well,
Uh
first of all, I love the way that like Brian De Palma like films it and with all the Dutch angles and stuff like that
yeah,
of in between him and what's the actor's name? Henry Cesar as Kittredge, where they're just talking back and forth and you
is
feel
there
the
any
camera zooming in just more and
yeah.
more and just ramping up the
It's
tension.
I'm not the biggest fan of the Dutch angle usually, but this movie, I trust De Palma with a camera full heartedly, and it was the Dutch angle was used rarely, and it was only used to increase tension. It's like this is a tense moment, and we're going to shift the camera and make you uneasy while you're sitting here watching it. Uh,
Mhm. So fun tangent real quick. If you type in Dutch angle on Google real quick, the camera will the screen will slightly shift like a Dutch angle. It's a fun little like Google hack
If
thing.
you don't know what a Dutch angle is, if we're sitting here speaking gibberish, go on Google, type in Dutch angle, and you will now learn what a Dutch angle is.
Yeah, right there.
But
And the first example of a Dutch.
it's basically when the camera is shifted, even though it's straight, like if you have the black bars and on the aspect ratio, and it's the camera's just like angled like that, that's a Dutch angle
Mhm. Yeah,
in layman
but
terms.
yeah, it was just such a great action set piece too of like the exploding gun that they built up before of
Set
Estevez
up.
talking to him about it, and then like, all of a sudden the aquarium guy just fucking exploded right there. Tom Cruise killing all the fish right there.
And it was also great because it also showed us like how smart Ethan Hunt's character is, right? Like he's just like how observant he is, where he's
He's
like he's piecing it together, as he's talking to Kittredge, and like the uneasiness that we're getting from the camera is what he's feeling, and he starts to notice that all of the people in this restaurant were also at the party that he was just at,
Mhm.
and it was just another IMF hit team. They were trying to smoke out the rat. It was a mole hunt. And
It's
they
it's a great way of showing that like Tom Cruise's character is not just like a meathead. That like
yeah.
because when you first introduced him, you don't really expect him to be like very observant or like super smart. But then that scene just gives him a little character beat too within the attention.
Yeah, it gives us that like, oh, he's actually like smart and very intelligent, and just like that awareness that he has. Um, but he has to, there's a rat and IMF believes it's him, so he's been blacklisted and now he has to free himself. So what does he do? He has to go and steal a knock list from Langley, the CIA headquarters in Virginia, which is also subsequently where the IMF base is. And that's where he brings in Krieger and Luther, who played by Jean Reno and Ving Rhames. Like when I saw Jean Reno like come on the screen, I was just staring at him like, why is this guy so why do I recognize this guy? And yet like why can't I put my finger on it? And then I looked him up on IMDb and I was like, ah, okay, it's Leon. Okay,
Well, yeah,
gotcha.
me,
Now I get it. Now I understand it. Like who he is. But it's you get that like great little back and forth on the train. Um but we should explain Max, right? Played by Vanessa Redgrave, who is the illegals arm dealers, who wants the knock list. And if you don't know what a knock list, it just means like the agent's undercover list. Um, she wants it for the world to sell it to drug dealers, right? Like your typical spy fair stuff. Like, I feel like the stuff in plot in spy movies are it's a gas that's going to change the world, it's a missile that's going to explode the world, or it's a
Hmm.
list of all of our agents undercover. Like those are the three beats of spy movies.
We got our stock trope right there. Yeah, right, right there.
It's your
Um,
stock trope.
So, real quick, the Langley section right there. I mean, this is obviously brings the most iconic moment of this movie of Ethan Hunt on the wire, like right
Oh,
before he touches the
so
ground.
so good.
And
So
it's
well
one of
done.
those moments that, like, you know, that moment, like both of us, I'm sure, knew of that moment before we watched the movie. And it's one of those things you see it like, okay, yeah, I understand why this is so iconic. This rocks. And I love that, like, in the middle of this movie, we just get a heist movie in the middle of it. Where they lay out, they do the heist movie thing, they lay out the
But
whole
they
plan,
do that
they
in like
explain it
all of
all.
these. They have heist scenes in all these movies. Like I think that was a big part of the TV show was like having a heist sequence.
Oh, but regardless, it's still great that this is in this movie though, because
Oh,
it's just like really fun and just like amazing little like action set piece right there. And like I just love the nerd in there that like fucking gets like puking up because of they spike his drink right there.
yeah. Claire, the other agent who didn't die, who survived, who was married to Jim Phelps. Hint, hint, wink, wink. You know,
Yeah.
I do wonder too because they do this thing right where John Voight is the second billed actor on the list. Then he dies 20 minutes into the movie, and you go, you know what? Maybe you could get a John Voight to just do this role and die 20 minutes in, and that's that.
Mm.
But realistically, you don't get second bill unless you're coming back for more. And he's basically absent for like the whole second act of the movie.
There is like a good point though, where like, at one point they do like have a quick flashback of Phelps to remind you, like, okay, yeah, maybe it gets you thinking about it again because they don't make you completely forget about him. Like,
When he finds the Bible after the heist.
yeah,
And it reminds you about him there and that he stayed at the Drake Hotel in Chicago. But the Langley sequence, we can't brush this part aside. Where Tom Cruise does the acrobatic from the vent down while Krieger's just holding him in the air shaft, and Luther is hacked in, and Claire is on the ground spiking the guy's drink. And this room that these files are kept in is so tech that it can't be 1 degree over 72. Nobody can touch the ground, and any noise over a certain decibel, all the alarms are going to go off. So it just sets this like tension so great, and it's in this like perfectly clean, like it's like a sci-fi set.
Mm.
The room that
Yeah,
it's
the whole like thing is like pure white set right there, just like very reminiscent of like Alien, like you were saying, just like very clean, pure white, nothing in it right there, and just like the whole entire thing. Like if you get one drop of sweat in this room, or if you do anything,
the alarms going off, and you know you have Luther following the guy with like the GPS tracker, trying
mm,
to follow him back and forth to the bathroom. Ethan has to go up and down, and then the rat comes in the vent and gets after Krieger, and he almost drops him on the ground, and you get that great sequence, and it's just like it's kind of crazy how long it is
mm.
of Tom Cruise just holding, and then the bead of sweat going in on the glasses and like dropping down and he catches it on his hands like of just like and he's like an inch from the ground, man. Like
Mm.
it is so tense. You're just waiting for that alarm to go off.
It's great how much they set it up so you know the stakes right there. And like you said, like that one scene of just the sweat dripping down, you can feel it. And De Palma just does a great close up of just like the sweat dropping onto his glasses. So like he's like almost like fucked right there.
Oh yeah. And then we have this weird bit where it's like, how is Kittredge and the IMF trying to flush out Ethan? They arrest his parents for meth charges, who are apparently dairy farmers in Wisconsin. I feel like this is the one and only time we ever get any mention of Ethan Hunt's family.
Yeah.
Like the one and only time we
Never
ever
mentioned again.
never mentioned again in the entire franchise. Um, but he's in London trying to move this list because he wants to out this guy Job, the guy who he believes is the mole. Um, and when he makes that call to Kittredge, John Voight appears back again. And I think my one big gripe with this movie is this scene where Phelps and Hunt are sitting down having a conversation, and Phelps is trying to give his side of the story, and then it just cuts to the retelling flashbacks of like what actually happened, and like Phelps faking everything, and like him and Claire are in on it, and it's like Ethan piecing it together, and it felt like we need to explain this to the audience, like they're not going to get it, and I feel like it's one of those instances where the filmmaker just didn't respect the audience's intelligence enough.
Well, this is a case of like De Palma that like this obviously was like probably De Palma's at this point most like
I
mass marketed movie
Yeah,
in a way, like for mass general audiences. We've covered a few De Palmas at this point. I think this is our third one.
the
Because we
third De
covered
Palma.
Carrie and Scarface. But this one definitely is like meant for general audiences. So in a way, like when you have a mass marketed blockbuster like this, you kind of have to dumb it down a little bit. And if this was not like a Tom Cruise vehicle, I feel like De Palma wouldn't have had it be as like obvious right there.
But I don't think it needed it to be obvious. Like I thought the sequence, like right before that, where he finds the Bible and he opens it and it says at the Drake Hotel, like I felt like that was the tell. If you're paying attention to the movie, like he
Hmm.
says he was at the Drake Hotel, like the movie is piecing it together for you there. And also this guy, like there's a mole hunt. Ethan Hunt's the only one who survives, but Claire Phelps, Jim Phelps' wife, also survives somehow. Well, we don't suspect it because she just said she got out of the car. She's helping Ethan, right? We're like, okay, sure. Then all of a sudden, Jim Phelps appears, and it's like you as the audience should go, oh, this is the guy who did it.
Yeah,
And him
immediately.
going like, yeah, Kittredge is the mole. He's the one who's trying to leak this information to Max. Um, and it leads to the big finale, Tommy, on the train. The train sequence. Uh,
Which is insane. That CGI in that one scene has not aged
oh,
well
it's aged
whatsoever.
horrendously, and it's
Yeah.
one of those like a franchise trying to find its footholding, right? Like when you think of Mission Impossible, you just think of these incredible action sequences, no CG added, or if the CG's added, it's like the thunder, like when they do the skydiving sequence in Mission Impossible 6. But right, like he's flying out of the thing, real life. They just added thunder to add some ambiance and effect to it, right? It's not like this, it's all these like physical, real hard stunts, and then we're getting a helicopter chase down a train tunnel at the end of the first one. And Ethan's hanging off the back of the train once it's come out that he's confirmed that Jim Phelps is the mole, and gets the videotape over to Kittredge so that way he knows what he was doing the whole time. Um, it's
Yeah.
a goofy final act.
Yeah, in some ways, like it works for me because, like, the Mission Impossible franchise is definitely like as gone on, built up on these stunts, like we're talking about earlier. How like Tom Cruise just like gets some of these death-defying things where it's like, what can you do now? And there's a little taste of this in this scene where he jumps up on the helicopter with John Voight and John Reno, and he's just like, and then he kills him right there. But like, you can see the seeds of where the franchise would go just from that one moment right there.
Yeah, definitely. You definitely can see the seeds of it, but it's like not fully formed there, and the CG is just like when the plane explodes, you're like, oh, my phone is more powerful than whatever rendered that image. Like whatever computer they use, like my phone is 10 times more powerful than that.
Does total tangent, but doesn't it blow your mind sometimes when you realize that your iPhone has more computing power than what got to the fucking moon in the 60s?
Yeah. Well, I mean,
What the fuck? I know it's been 50, 60 years, but still that blows my mind when I think about it.
yeah, it's pretty crazy, but for def because most people are using their phone to try to do calculations to get to the moon, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Certainly not for memes and Candy Crush. Um, but yeah, that's Mission Impossible. It's so much more quaint, and I like enjoyed that about this one. You know, it's just like
Hmm.
it has its set pieces, but it like up until the end, they're all within the realm of like possibility. Where I love the later Mission Impossible movies, but they are off the walls,
Hmm. Yeah,
ridiculous.
in the best way possible.
Yeah,
But yeah, this is definitely more grounded. I mean, like, so many franchises like this end up like that, where like they end up getting a little more cartoony. But I feel like the Mission Impossible franchise hasn't strayed 100% away from its original intent. But I do like how it also became a director's franchise, where like, the first one we had Brian De Palma, second one we have John Woo, third one's J.J. Abrams, fourth one's fourth one's Brad Bird,
has
and then
anyone's stock died harder than J.J. Abrams? Like that guy just rode Lost.
I think it was until Rise of Skywalker, people loved him. And then
I think I think people liked the whatever the Force Awakens, like people liked it when it came out and then soured on it when they were just like, oh, this is the same movie.
yeah,
And the Rise of Skywalker, nobody's seen that guy's face since. He's just been in hiding.
literally. I mean, like if you look at his filmography, I mean, like he came out of Mission Impossible 3. That was his directorial debut. That movie I feel like is held in like decent esteem. He does Star Trek. That movie rocked when I saw it. I haven't seen it since in a while, but I remember it being really cool. Super 8 was cool at the time. Star Trek Into Darkness was
I
all right.
remember loving the soundtrack of that original Star Trek, that dun 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 dun
Yeah,
dun
and we
dun
had Force Awakens, which you said
dun
was
dun. Well
fun, but everyone
received at the
realized
time. Well, listen, there's a lot of prequel revisionists going on here, but like the design of that movie was to make people forget that the prequels even happened because they were that bad, and they are still that bad. Okay, they're still
yeah.
that bad.
But
Um,
then the last movie J.J. Abrams did was 6 years ago, and that's Rise of Skywalker. Didn't he have some like big deal with like HBO or Amazon or something like that,
Probably
where
that just
like
went
they
out
gave
the
him
boot.
millions of dollars and he has not produced a single fucking thing with it?
Yeah, that's what happens with these development deals where, it's like you give this money to this guy and then you release something as bad as The Rise of Skywalker and then, they can't get the money back, but they're like, do we really want to even because it's like for Amazon, if they lose $6 million on like a holding deal, it's like nothing to them. But if they put $220 million into some show that like makes them lose subscribers, it's not even worth it.
He did a 250 million 5-year deal of Warner Media in 2019,
Oh,
and the only thing that came out of it was a show that just premiered called Duster that came out like maybe like a week or two ago.
never heard of it. Duster?
Yeah, yeah. Granted, it literally just came out 5 days ago from what
How
Wikipedia
did
telling
he
me.
have a 5-year deal and the show just came out?
I couldn't fucking tell you. So it's just like one of those things where it's just like, Jesus Christ, he really took the money and run. Same thing
250
with Phoebe Waller-Bridge did that too of Amazon.
250 million, wait, $250 million deal for J.J. Abrams?
Oh, sorry.
$250 million deal for J.J. Abrams. That's crazy. That's nuts. That's the nuttiest thing
Yeah,
I've ever heard. Uh,
yeah,
like you got to like I feel like people like this is the problem when you get like analytic business data nerds like who just like, well, look at like what Star Trek did financially. Look at what Star Wars did. Like J.J. Abrams is the hot thing. I'm like, he took two of the two premier like science fiction franchises in the West and made movies for them. Like, yeah, he was gonna make money off of them. Like, did you watch the products? Because I could have told you. I could have told you if you just like watch his movies, maybe pass on him. Maybe don't invest in J.J. Abrams, especially for $250 million. Ludicrous.
yeah,
Sorry, I'm on a tangent right now, but
yeah. Insane.
insane. Insane.
I am a star. I'm a star, I'm a star, I'm a star. I am a big, bright, shining star.
Tommy, who is the star of this movie? It's a weird movie where I feel like acting is like the least important part of it.
Yeah, in terms of that aspect, I mean, De Palma's direction just brings so much fun style, and like this brings like almost a sensibility of like slight like Euro trash in a way to it.
Oh yeah.
Uh, that like I feel like the later entries don't really have as much, even though but like the addition of like Joan Reno and then what's her name? Milia
Claire Phillips. Claire.
yeah, Claire Phelps, Amelia Barat, and just like the great like little French Euro trash element to it.
Even
And I just
Vanessa
think that
Redgrave as Max, like the Czech banker, like arms dealer, she's like this little Euro trash here. I mean,
yeah.
you
But
know,
there's so many things that like obviously like Tom Cruise I think ultimately takes it in so many
how
ways,
can he not?
but De Palma just brings such a added layer to this movie that
Do we
makes
want to give it to
the
De Palma?
tension. I fuck it, I'll say De Palma then.
All
Yeah.
right, I'm game for that because like I do feel like this movie, if it had John Woo or J.J. Abrams directing it and it's inaugural, like does not get the train doesn't leave the station, if you will.
Yeah.
If you know what I mean, like to get the ball rolling. Because I feel like this movie holds a lot of weight. I haven't seen three, but after watching two, I was like, wow, like this is night and day quality comparison. And like stylistically, this movie it's so quaint compared to the other ones just because it's much smaller scale in terms of everything compared to like because most people will consider 4 through 8 to be like great action movies.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then you'll have your debates about 1, 2, and 3. But this is a great action movie. It's just quaint and small scale. It's
Hmm.
just different. And I just feel like De Palma's caring so much to like create this style and bring this like artistic direction to a genre of movies that kind of usually shot a little bit straightforward, like I love a movie like Speed, like a great car chase action movie, but like nothing about the direction of that movie screams out to me.
Well, yeah, yeah, and also like the fact that like the budget of this movie, I mean, it is a high budget, one of the highest De Palma's built with, but it's 80 million. Then when you get to Mission Impossible 2, like what, 4 years later, the budget ballooned up to 120 million, and like you said, that you could probably feel it in that movie.
Yeah. Oh, you can definitely feel it in that movie. But I'm game leaving it to De Palma because I don't go into these movies looking for some terrific acting performance.
Yeah, there's fun stuff. I mean, we didn't really touch on Ving Rhames. He's a great presence. He's a great inversion of what you expect a hacker to be, because you expect the hacker to be like, the twerpy nerd type, like the guy who's the I am.
Think of like GoldenEye the year before, like the guy Ivan or Igor, or whatever his name is. He's like the scrawny little nerd with like the Kramer haircut, like the Russian guy,
Yeah, yeah,
the hacker guy. Like that's what you expect, and then you just get this like the coolest guy on the planet to be a hacker dude.
yeah. It's fucking awesome.
Are you ready, comedy partner? Waka waka.
Tommy, would Mission Impossible work as a Muppet adaptation?
I feel like you need the more the lighthearted tone that the first like 20 minutes of this movie brings, like before everyone starts
You
dying
mean you
off.
don't want like 8 Muppets dying the first 20 minutes of your Muppet Mission Impossible movie?
Yeah, though I am seeing on Pinterest right now, it's a scene of Fozzie in the Langley break-in where Fozzie's the one on the fucking wire, which is a fucking hilarious image. But regardless, I think that like it feels more lighthearted a little bit, but once you get into like the killing all the Muppets part now, it's not wacky.
Action and Muppets just don't. It's like the one genre the Muppets just really do not cross into. Because
Yeah.
when we did Die Hard with a Vengeance, we were also like, yeah, no,
Hmm.
no, no, no. Um, so that's a no. That's a no. No Muppet adaptation. Sorry to our Muppet heads out there. Um, but Tommy, review time. Give me your score out of 5.
So I think this is a really fun movie, and this is I think up there with one of the better De Palma movies. There's just such a fun little tension to this, and the table setting in the first 30 minutes is just, I think, one of the better cold opens we've had in the 90s. And overall, just great Euro trash sensibilities. I get added into the mix. The Langley sequence is thrilling. It falters a little bit for me towards like the end of the second act, but overall, still a fun time. I'm gonna go with a 4 out of 5.
4 out of 5 for Tommy. I'm in agreement here. I'm also gonna go 4 out of 5. De Palma's direction just really like elevates this movie. I really love like the quaintness of this movie, just like how simple it is and just how much the camera like elevates everything, and just that Langley scene in the middle for the second act action piece is just it's such a fun, it's like a, I think it's still one of the top action sequences in the history of the franchise, in my opinion. And it just still aged that well. It's just so tense and so tight. So for me, 4 out of 5. Great movie. If you've never seen the original Mission Impossible, go see it before you go see The Final Reckoning in theaters. You got to see that one in theaters. Get it in IMAX, get it in your Dolby, get it in whatever format you prefer.
Oh, real quick tangent. It really pissed me off because I was looking at showings for this weekend, and the local AMC near me has a Dolby screen, one Dolby screen, and the majority of the Dolby screens for next weekend are just being dedicated to Lilo and Stitch remake. And then it's Lilo and Stitch remake all day, and then at 9 p.m. you get Mission Impossible Final Reckoning. It's like, are you fucking kidding me? That should be inversed.
Gross. Give the 11 o'clock screen to Lilo and Stitch for the kids. But
yeah, give like the matinee, but everything else should go to Tom Cruise. He's Mr. Cinema himself.
seriously, that's some disrespect to the Godfather. But this is a fun episode, Tommy. We had a good time talking about Mission Impossible.
Yeah, definitely.
Any final thoughts before we wrap up this episode?
Well, thank you guys so much for listening. You can follow us on social media. That's at CNET That's on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, occasional thread. I still do occasionally post there, Timmy. And we're also on Blue Sky. That's podcnet.bluesky.social. And while you're at it, leave us a 5-star review. Apple, Spotify, wherever you get your podcast. Helps us out, helps us grow the show. And next week, we're covering a horror franchise, one of my faves. Total fun. Final Destination. New one just came out. It rocks. We're going to go back to the original.
Well, thank you all so much for listening, but I do have one more final thought. After our New York Knicks defeated the Boston Celtics in 6.
Woo.
We are the New York Knicks.
We got to play it again.
New York Knicks. We are the New York Knicks.
Knicks in 6.
We are the New York
Let's go.
Say go New York, go New York, go.
Thank you all so much for listening.
Say
See you next time.
Go New York, go.